Hey, Mike.
Hey, what's up, Ray?
How you doing?
Good, man. How about you?
Good.
You
Good.
light? It's a little
What's
bright.
that?
Biggest light's a little bit bright. I got. Holy,
I don't. I'm just on the phone right now.
that's pretty good. Whew. Let me get the volume up. No, it's all good.
Volume is a button right there. Yep.
Cool, man. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Awesome. What do you got going?
Just trying to get one or both of these deals through to closing. We were kind of chatting with Hannah and I after the call, saying definitely a lesson learned. How we kind of self-inflicted a leak in the bottom of our business by putting that much cash into one deal. Because we kind of started of saying, hey, we'd be okay with like a couple thousand to each deal, like 2 or 3, or like you said, like putting a deposit in for a couple of weeks and getting it back. Unfortunately, what that happened is when we put that 200 into the one deal, theoretically, what honestly happened is we were looking at it after the call. It's not been our intention to leave this much money into the deals at this point. It's that we're pretty much out of our private capital, and we weren't borrowing it from Ironbridge either. So it was kind of like the trifecta of of lessons compounding.
Yeah, I mean,
Because normally we actually said we agree. Like you hit the nail on the head. You're like, in all honesty, you're like, if I look at this, we had that little Google Docs in front of us. You're like, if I look at this, you're like, you guys are pretty much in a really, great spot. There's 2 under contract. You're finishing 2 up. You have 1 that's on its way, and you have 2 more under contract to buy in the next, 2 to 4 weeks. So we have a pretty consistent stream. But I told Hannah after we hung up, I'm like, where we're caught right now is, and that's one of the other things that's kind of drawing me back into doing more of the work, is to actually have the money to open up contractors on each of these jobs.
Yeah.
For right now, because we have so much of our personal money into that one deal, and then our business profits carrying renovations on these projects, it's kind of left us like we were telling you, like not at 0, but not at the point where I want to make sure that we have monies. We still have 60 in private, but I've allocated 30 and 30 for each of those deals because I don't want to not close on them. I think that would be my biggest mistake.
I agree with that because honestly, you can always go get like 50 grand from somewhere. I mean, if you got somewhere your savings or something you could pull it from, it's only temporarily. You get it back at the settlement and then just pull it back. So it's not like you're not like throwing money into a dying business. You're throwing money until you get a couple settlements and you're learning your lesson. The best way to really look at this, Ray, I think like the most healthy approach to take is that it's really hard to know what the perfect amount of money you need to have to run your business is. And the best way to figure it out, sometimes we got to get out and try some stuff, right? We got to push the boundaries on each side. So you got to see, this is how much I can have in. And now this is maybe you overcompensate now and you're like, I got too much money in the bank. The key is you're always trying to find that perfect place in the middle. And that is a little challenging, but it's going to require that you sometimes get overextended and sometimes you got some money in the bank. And and then you'll start to get a feel for what it is. So it really is pretty impossible for even someone like me to say, Ray, this is the exact amount. I'm not nerdy enough or cool enough to be able to like run some crazy numbers and tell you that. That's what like a high level CFO would do, that you'd pay like 200 grand a year to work for you. But unfortunately, we're not really running that type of business where we can afford 200 grand a year. I am going to hire someone like that. So if I end up finding someone who's pretty awesome, I'll share them with you because I'm looking for someone who can kind of for a couple K a month could really just start taking and putting all my reports together, getting my money together, helping me know where my business is, the health of my business, and doing that like once a month. People do everything else, but then have them do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because we just actually talked about some pretty good stuff after the call because we made some notes and we went through stuff. And what we did kind of going into this, we thought, and I think it might have had some effect that it was a straight cash offer, but I don't know. But when we put all that money towards this one property, where we thought kind of the biggest tipping point that it's not that we put the 190 into it. What we realized is that to have two or three, kind of always a steady two deals, I'll say, kind of moving through. So if our ideal target number is 6,
Mhm.
2 that we're working on, 2 that are finishing up and on the market to return the money to us, and 2 that we've just shopped or locked up under contract, our target number is ideally 6 deals. And what we were doing for a while is we were using 45 to 65 of the private investors' money, and that was getting us into the deal. And it was also covering our holding cost, our reno, everything else. Where I think we really did some damage is we didn't understand the flow of the 6. We thought, well, we're only going to pick up 2 properties, and we saw how much private cash we had. And I think that's why we dumped so much into it, not knowing that those 2 are on the market and they're ready to kind of get out of here, but how cash flow intensive each project is.
Yeah.
And that's where our initial thought was, we'll be okay. You know, we'll be okay with, I think we set up to $5,000 of our money into each deal. And because we slowly started running out of money, because the 250 was into just, or the 200 was into just one property, what we started doing is we're like, man, we still need to have money to buy new properties, to keep these other deals going. So we slowly left more and more of our money into each of the deals. And we looked at it today, and between deposits and reno monies out there, she updated the numbers today. We have just shy of $80,000 of our business money, which should be in our account. And instead, it's actually funding the renovations.
I mean, that's a simple fix, though. I mean, you'll fix that in a couple of weeks and a few things settle. The key to any time you're trying to figure out your money is always have more money than you think you need, because I can tell you this through long experience. If you think you have enough money or just enough money, then you don't. You're broke, you know, and you just don't know it yet. It hasn't hit you yet. And if you think you got too much money, then you're probably in the perfect place. You probably just got enough. So for you to really ever have too much money, it would feel crazy almost. Like I'd have to have so much money in my bank account for me to be like, oh my God, I got way too much money. Like when you're flipping, man, you can eat money. It's crazy. It eats money. Any business really does, but house flipping business really does. So
it does.
it just,
and fast.
strategizing in the future, just keep, like you said, their magic number is keep 100K in the bank, and you need about 100 to 150 to close the business. And so when you're making decisions, you can just stop doing that, right? So anyhow, that's the best thing. Nikki, Ray and I were talking a little bit about, he's like, he took some money that he had from private lenders, and he put some of his own money into deals, trying to make sure, you know, the money was out there, not leaving it sitting and not working for him. And he ended up putting more than he'd like to. He kind of found out later, not that he's broke, but just that, you know, he kind of he would like to have a little more of a security blanket. And so he's kind of like, you know, because that's the thing we go through when we have private people's money, is we don't want it sitting, but then we try to put it all in like one deal, or too much of it in the one deal. And then often we end up like wishing we hadn't, because it's a floating business. You know, we always have to, like, if you're going to do 10 houses a year, you generally are going to own about 3 at a time. And you're going to have one that you're working on, one that's going to settlement soon and, you know, under contract to sell or on the market, and then one that you're buying to start. And that usually, if you do that every 4 months, that's going to bring you around 8 to 10 houses a year. So that's kind of your math usually, right? You'll be in that category. And if you got like 2 going at a time, you can do somewhere between 6 to 8 a year, maybe 6 to 7. That's going to be if they're going pretty quickly. But you always are floating like 2 or 3 deals at a time. Like me and my partner, we had a time where we had 25 to 32 deals going on at a time. And he had about $2 million. I mean, we borrowed all the money. Like we borrowed 100% purchase and most of the rehab. And just in the money that it took to settle, pay the payments, and then front the first draw, we'd have like $1.5 million to $2 million out to do that. So like, yeah, you can really leverage it out. When me and him first started, I learned this lesson the hard way, because he was like, well, why don't we just pay all cash for deals? And I was like, cool. And then we did that on like 2 deals, and then we watched paint dry. And he was like, well, we got to do more than this. I was like, maybe we should put all the money in 2 deals. Maybe we could like break it up, do 4 deals. And then next thing you know, we were putting like nothing in, and we were able to do like 30 deals. Just that's how we grew. Is like money will be the number one thing that stops you from growing. With that being said, make sure that, you know, it's good to have other people's money into the deals as much as possible. So as much as you can. So if you're getting good loans from your hard money lender, and you got someone that's willing to lend a couple bucks to cover things, then you'll be able to do the houses as you get them. And then there is the point. The only downside of that, and this definitely happened to us, is that you can take on more properties than you can effectively do. When money's not an issue, it tends to be. So there is that perfect balance. If you're putting some money in, it tends to be a really nice balance of if you don't. Here's the best way to look at it. Like if you're putting say 10 or 20K a house in, right? You got 40K. You can do two houses at a time. If you go do two houses and all of a sudden you don't have 60K to do three houses, then guess what? You probably shouldn't do more than two houses at a time. So having some money in the deal actually does stop you from going crazy. One thing I've seen people do quite often in a lot of these Ponzi schemes out there, how they've started, is people just getting like no money in the deal. Next thing you know, they're just buying, 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 and it just kind of implodes on itself because there's no kind of fail safe to say, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. Because if you flip five houses and all of a sudden your 40 doesn't turn into at least 100 or 150, then you probably need to slow down, do less houses, and focus on getting better results. Focus on making more profits on your deals. Because incrementally, what should happen is if you got 40K, you do a flip, you should have 60K. You know, you take and do another flip, you should have 80K. Another, you should, I mean, at least 20 of it should be remaining in there, even if you need to pay yourself and other people. You should be building your business account so that you have more and more money. So systematically, if you're flipping correctly in a year, if you do 5 or 10 deals and you don't have 150K sitting in the bank, then there's a question you have to ask yourself, why is that, right? Why don't I have the cash, right? Because that would mean that it would be better to slow down and really nail the flips you're doing. And because we found that we had like very little money in the bank and it was not growing very quickly because we were doing so much volume and we weren't bringing in the profits we should. And one of the things, like I probably told you this before, one of my most profitable years I've ever had was a year that I traveled 21 times. I worked like 10 hours a week and I did 11 rehabs. And I was at every day, if I was home and not traveling, I was at the rehab looking at it. I was power shopping. I'm online looking for the best deals. I was really all in on it. And I was really looking for good deals. I was wholesaling anything that wasn't a good fit. And I made $380-some thousand in a year net profit, like zero overhead, working out of my living room. It was awesome, right? And we're just running around seeing stuff. I mean, it was very back to the basics. We really were bootstrapping it. And that was 3 years ago, by the way. It was 2016, so almost 4 years ago. But yeah, 2016, that was the year I did great. And then the following year, I did 41 deals, and I only made a little bit more. I mean, I made more. I did a great year. It was a good year. The following year after that was my worst year. I did 71 deals, and I actually made less than the year I did 11. So you can see volume often is tricky, right? And everyone was really impressed by my 71 deals, but except for my accountant and my, everyone who matters, like my coach, my accountant, everyone else was like, what the F are you doing, Mike? Like, you're going crazy again. And that's why this year, since the beginning of the year to now, I've been focused on like scaling it down. And I've really been nailing it. Like my last 5 or 6 properties actually made more profit. The first 5 properties I've done made more profit than my 15 before that. So that's pretty cool, like cool stuff. And that had a lot to do with it. I got like 20 to 30K over on 4 out of 5 of them and 10K over on 1 of them. So the reality is like when you're able to take and really hone in on this, you can take and do less properties. You don't have to do 1 million properties. We just have to really get it down, right? Really get it down because a lot of properties could, we're leaving so many 10 and 15,000 and 20,000 here and 10,000 here. They equal another rehab. But it's pretty cool to make that money without doing the work, right? Without doing the work is the key because if we look at it like we got to do all the work that you're doing, say like on Jennings and all the other properties, and that's going to make say 30K. Well, okay, how can we do that same amount of work and make 40 or 50? And which would be awesome, by the way, because that's kind of the key to any business. But that's through like really diving in. Now when we get in this cycle, I've been in this cycle where I feel like the solution to the problem is doing more homes. And it's never doing more homes. It's actually taking a step back and figuring out how to create the same profit you're creating now with half the houses. And I'm telling you, if you put your mind to that, that is a super real thing that I'm actually diving back into that myself because my brain is so wired to like scale. And I got in that 8-figure group and they were all about scaling. They're all doing like 300 houses a year. And I was feeling a little, inferior, like I need to do a bunch of houses too. And honestly, it's just bad news, right? I mean, if I could run, me and Robert were talking about this today, and I think he's on track to do like 14. He's like, I might go to 20. And I was like, you know what? You probably could do the same 14, Robert, and actually make like 30, 40% more money without doing any more, right? Just getting in the process and nailing the process and like and refining the process and making more and more money, but out doing more, which is the secret to any business, right? It's like the secret to any business is create, make bigger profit margins. And that's really going to be the key to everything we do. I've had a couple deals this year that were like 70 to 100K deals, which I've never, ever, like, I didn't accidentally get those in the past. But now I'm, when things go really well and I get 30 extra K over and it appraises, then that's like a good day. If I was making 40 now, I'm making 70. And so it's pretty sweet deals when I'm able to do that. I didn't buy them thinking that, but I can tell you that that would happen to me 1 out of 20 flips. And now it's happening to me like all the time. It's becoming a real thing that almost I'm counting on a little. If we get like list price, I'm a little disappointed, which is a good thing. Now, what I've brung to the table to make that happen is, again, it's that slowing down. It's my coach and I saying, Mike, you know what? Don't even focus on, I don't even want you counting how many you've done this year, which by the way, I don't even know how many I've done this year. He's like, I only want you looking at your Trilio workflow and saying, oh, do you have enough properties for your people? And are you getting them all done efficiently? And if you are, if there's any dead spots where things aren't happening quick enough, then I want you to stop buying until you got everything back on track. When it's back on track, go start buying again and then buy just what you need to keep everyone busy. And for you, you have that perfect place where you're handling everything and everything's going well. If anything starts to slow up, then stop buying. You're not allowed to buy. So I have like, I turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. But the thing that tells me to turn it on, turn it off is everything going well? If everything's not going well, then it always makes sense to stop what I'm doing and go ahead and just dig into the flips, because that's where all the money is. All the money's in the current flips that I'm doing, right? Not in the flips that I'm going to do in the future. It's in the ones that are in front of me. They're the ones, and that's hard for me to understand. I struggle with that. I'm not going to lie. I struggle. Like, it is so easy for me to, to kind of get into that crazy, let's do 7,000 houses kind of thing. I'm just very competitive. It's like playing a game, I guess. But it's not a good game. It's kind of a sucky game. But now my focus is profit. So I'm working on hiring a CFO to work for me, like a part-time CFO that is going to probably work for me like 10 hours a month, just getting all my numbers together. But there's a couple of things that I think is really important that I want to have on every house so that I can really dial these numbers in. Is I want to know like exactly what I made on the house, like within a week after I settle, and I want to be able to sit there and do a deep dive on everything I spent, right? And I want to have that kind of handed to me. And also weekly, I realized that it would be very beneficial for me to know exactly where I am in the spend every week on every house. So knowing like, okay, 123 Main Street, I got 80K for renovation. I've spent 40 of it. Now, if I have spent 40 of it, I think you're probably good enough to know, and everyone on the call is probably in a place where they'll know if they've actually done 40K in work, right? Are we halfway done? Because we spent half the money, are we halfway done? And if the answer is no, then we stop what we're doing and we do a dive into what's going wrong. We don't ignore it, wait and figure it out later, don't worry about it, put our head in the sand. We actually got to stop what we're doing, because whatever's causing us to get out of line needs to be fixed, whether it's someone ripping extra stuff out, it's a contractor not getting done on time, or change ordering us. It's always some reason, right? The key is whatever that reason is has to be stopped. Because if you're doing that across, say, 2 to 3 houses, now that's a compounding, big compounding problem. So these are some of the things I'm putting in place. Obviously, I'm going to share them with you, but the things I need to know is, and every month I need to know, like, how much money did I spend and how much money came in, right? Because I don't care about everything else. And now that's the tricky part, because at the end of the day, a lot of the people want to count like our money that we invest in the flip as expenditures. It's not. So it's super weird when you pull profit and loss. It'll be like you lost like 100K this month, and you may basically be like you lost 100K because maybe I bought 2 properties, and they're like, but I'm like, dude, that's a 100K loan. That's not profit versus loss. Profit versus loss is expenses versus profit, equals your net income. Not putting in like 100K I took from my bank account and invested in 3 properties. So I got to figure out how to do that with them. I'm sure it's not that complicated, but the last 3 people I talked to made it sound like I was trying to invent like the wheel or something. Like they were like cavemen. They were like, yeah, and I'm showing them fire, and they're like, what's this? Like, it's the devil. I'm like, yeah, you can't tell me I lost 100K every month, because like I can't live with that, man. That'll make me go jump off a bridge. I can't run my business properly when every month I look at my profit and loss and I've lost 80K. And nobody gets it. And I mean, now I talked to my coach about it, and he's like, he just looks at me and says, Mike, duh. He's like, of course that's how you do it. And I'm like, well, how do you know this? And they don't. This is what they do for a living. He's like, Mike, you got to tell them. He's like, you can't ask them. He's like, these people, if they don't understand that basic fact that you need to just see what you spent versus what you made, what the difference is, like that's what they need to put in front of you every month. And then they need to show you every week where your spend is and where your cash is, what cash is coming in, what cash is going out. That's all you need once a month. And then you need your expenditures on your rehabs every week. If you got that in front of you, now we can sit down about a half day a week and make sure we understand the money part of our business. And he's like, once you handle that, now we can get into taking money and systematically, like, you know, putting it under the mattress, essentially, like squirreling it away and building wealth. Because that's what I've not been doing. I've just been like reinvesting my money, doing this and doing that. And I'm not actually like, I don't have any plan. And you think about all the money that goes through my business. If I was just squirreling away 5K here, 10K there for the last 10 years, I have millions of dollars sitting in a savings account. But I don't. I just always like, oh, I got 5K, let me go do this thing or go do that or invest it in this or let me get real lazy about following through with my rehabs and then just lose the 5K, right? Because I, you know, end up going 5K over budget. Because when we lose money going over budget, it's just like spending it, right? Not paying attention to our numbers or making a choice for me to put like a nice vanity that's $1,000 more or something crazy that I didn't need. That's no different than going out to the casino and blowing it. It really is the same outcome. It's money, it's not in your bank account. No one pays attention to one, and obviously people are going to judge you for the other. You know, if you're like, lost $10,000 in blackjack, people are going to laugh at you. If you're like, I went 10K over budget, people are going to console you. They're going to be like, oh, Nikki and Darshan and Ray, you know, it's okay. That's the way the business is. You know, you ain't going to get it right every time. And that's what people have done to me my whole life. And I just don't agree with it anymore. I'm taking a stand against it. I'm tired of like making freaking baby excuses for myself. And I'm not going to do that. So I just think like going 10K over budget, I'm not allowing that. I know it's going to happen, but if it does, I'm going to put my foot down and figure out why. And I'm going to do my best to fix it. You know, and that's not going to happen overnight. I'm real about that part. It ain't going to happen overnight. I got to keep just working on it until it gets better. So anyhow, that was my rant. So money, like really understanding the money at the level of this group is one of the biggest things we can always talk about, because money is like, seems to be one of the common things that we all struggle with.
Hey, Mike.
Go ahead, Ray.
I don't know who else is on the call, but how do most of the people that are in the group typically fund everything? I'd be curious to see like what people are using and stuff like that. Like private financing, are they using some self-funding? Are they using like hard money lenders?
I mean, I can give you the rundown of it. Most people are using a combination of some private money and doing usually mostly hard money. So they're getting like the hard money lenders to lend them like 100% of the purchase, 90% rehab, maybe 100, and then they're just using like money they have. Because if you do that, you only need about 30, 40K to do it. So if you got 80K, you can do 3 flips. You got 120K, you can do 3 flips. You know, roughly in that ballpark. So if they might get 100K in private money or an equity line. Some people you can get gap funding. Nick's using gap funding actually that he got, which I found really interesting. Expensive, but he got 40K to do a flip, and now he's doing a flip. So he's paying $600 a month for 40K, but guess what? That's totally worth it because he's doing a flip. You know what I mean? He wouldn't be doing it otherwise. It's cheaper than So some people are using partners. I mean, you know, everyone's using. Most people are using private lenders, but mostly hard money lenders, and they're using the private lenders to gap the loans essentially. And that's what I've done for my own. Is my partner essentially was the private lender, and we've always used hard money lenders and just used my partner's money to gap the money needed to, you know, because hard money lenders are not going to make 100% out of, you know, 100%. They're going to make sure you got some skin in the game. So that skin in the game represents gap funding. And that's my partner always provides that. And that's the most common scenario I've seen. What I've not seen as much, and I wouldn't actually recommend, is like using all private lenders. Like I know Don Costa said he was using all private lenders. The issue I have with all private lenders is have like an abundance of private money so deep that, you know, you'll always have people sitting in the door. Like he's got a big podcast and a couple of things going on that makes that easy for him. But ultimately, it's a full-time job to raise that much private capital. You know, where you'd have so much, if someone just ducked out on your day of settlement, you could just call up the next person. One thing I like about hard money lenders is that they're reliable. Private lenders aren't reliable. If you start doing it at scale, essentially. Now, if you got a couple
Okay.
friends and people you trust, then that's fine. You also, whenever you do private loans where they're giving you like 50K and you're giving them 10%, well, the cool thing about that is they're often letting you control it, do whatever you want with it. They're not like, tying it to the property, and then, they pretty much are funding it before. You don't have to worry about them backing it. My issue
Yeah.
is always like when I've tried to have people fund the whole deal, they back, like one dude backed out day of settlement, and then told me to wait a week, and then he backed out again. And then I lost my mind, and I took it to Dominion, and he funded it in like 24 hours, and he just took it to them. Because I was like, it drove me crazy. One of the main reasons. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't use private money. I'm only saying that I like the combination of hard money, private money, your own money, a combination of just, figuring it out and making sure you get money from wherever you can get it from. But right now, private money is crazy aggressive. I heard that somebody just told me that Lending Home is doing 100% financing now. It actually was I think it was Jeff, or one of our new students, Jeff. So he said they're doing 100% purchase and rehab, which is interesting because I know you work with Lending Home.
Yeah, I want to talk to them because I don't. They have us down at a point, and I think 8%, and we're actually using them on the upcoming deal. So I'm going to call the guy that we've been working with tomorrow and see if they'll do 100%.
I know they're doing.
Has he been working with them for a while?
What were you saying?
Has he been working with them for a while? I know they're pretty big on. They're huge on kind of growing and building a relationship and making terms more favorable. Where a lot of people always go after new business. They solicit new business, but they're super aggressive in keeping their existing business with them. So has he been with them for a while, and that's why he's got it?
No. He said he heard that they're offering it now at I think Flip House.
Oh.
No, he said that he talked to them and they said they're offering it now. So it's something they're offering.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Now they might be offering it at a higher rate than 8 and 1. Obviously, they might want more money if they're going to do 100%. That's generally the case. It's more risk for them. So, and for you,
Okay.
it might be worth paying an additional. You don't need 100 and 100. You just honestly, you haven't even been borrowing. You've been borrowing like the purchase without the rehab. So, you ultimately can just, if you need more money, just take more of the rehab or something else and make it easy. That's generally what.
Yeah.
I mean, you just want to borrow enough that you have plenty of private capital sitting around. You never like run short. You're always like,
Yeah.
when it comes to money. Just in case, the reason I say this is just in case there's going to be times, and this is what one of probably the hardest parts of this business is finding deals, right? And consistently getting that flow of deals. So there's going to be times where you get on fire and you just find deals like crazy. You don't even know what's going on. And next thing you know, you find 5 deals in like 2 months, kind of like you did, Ray, right? Well, you had the money to make those real and make them happen. I had where I bought 7 in May and I had to sell 2 of them off because I wasn't thinking I would have to do that. And I wasn't prepared and I had deals that were kind of going a little slow. And so I had to sell 2 off. And I did keep 2 in inventory and really just bought 3. And then, but the reality of this is that you need to make sure that if like you do get on a run and let's say that you get 5 really good deals, and you have the money because you've been really thoughtful of your money, then it would be nice to be able to buy all 5 deals if they're good deals. Or pick through them. If they're not all good deals, then don't buy them all, right? Buy what you can.
Okay.
Because you don't know. I'm always thinking when I'm passing on a deal, I'm always thinking like, well, what, I need one soon? Because I can tell you when it comes like February, March, and April, you're going to probably need deals, right? It's generally kind of slow in those months. It's not like, it's not dead, but it's slower. And then it seems to be really good in October, November, and December, in my opinion. Before the end of the year, the banks want to clear stuff off. And so, if you get your money, what I would highly suggest for you now, obviously, is as you get this money back, I would try to keep a little additional money because there might be some opportunity for you to buy stuff in, say, November and December that you don't necessarily have the time and manpower to do, but you could buy and then hold for 45 days and then start, even 60 days. Because what my fear always is like when you're counting on the MLS is, well, what if it slows up a little bit during those really hot months, right? What if
Yeah.
the inventory slows up some? Well, I like to control that by buying more than I need in the slow months and then holding them for an extra 45, 60 days and selling them in the busy months. So I essentially end up having rehabs when most people are fighting for rehabs. We did this every year in the big business, man. We would buy like crazy from like September, October, November, and December, and then things would just kind of die off in January, February, and March. Now, when I say die off, I still was probably buying 3 or 4 houses a month, but in those months before that, I was buying double that. So you see, it's just the selective, like I'm going to buy more in the months where I really need deals, and knowing that it's slow, I actually would just push some of those deals forward. And you can get them at a little bit of a discount in November. So you might be able to get them where if it's like $1,500 a month to own it, you might be able to get it for $3K cheaper and than you normally would pay. And then just hold it for 2 months for that.
Just hold on to it.
Yeah, just like and then now you're buying it in February and putting it on the market in like April, May, which is a really good houses on the market. Also a difficult time to find as many deals. So I like to control my future a little bit. Everyone kind of gets real starved out in the spring and they whine. I like to kind of buy a little bit when I know I can, inventory it a little bit if possible. And if not, then I'll just fight really hard and try to buy them in the beginning months.
Okay.
But I have had years where we were like, oh, well, we shouldn't buy that many. And then we were stuck trying to like make up our inventory, our volume in spring. And that's not a time you want to try to make your inventory up. And again, we still get plenty of deals in all those months, but it's so much easier to get deals in the other months. And honestly, it don't even matter if it is easier or not. The banks will have like these little weird runs where like you're just going to get on these runs where like all of a sudden Dave would have a month where he'd get nothing, sometimes a month and a half, and then he'd have a week where he bought 4 deals. And it was like, it always went like that. It was never like he could just buy one every week or two. It had to be like, nothing for 5 weeks and then 3 deals all at once. So when you have that, the only way to control that is through inventorying and being smart with your stuff. So that's something that every level of rehab can do, obviously, but that requires the financial part to be really strong and be in the right place.
Okay.
What else can I help you with? Nikki, what do you got going on with your crazy lady?
Oh, she's done. I think it's over.
Well, you didn't even tell me that, like, you had sex with her husband. That's like, no wonder. Come on. She's like, well, I used to date her husband. Like, well, no wonder. You were screwed from the beginning. Legitimately, right? I'm assuming you guys had sex. I'm not trying to be in your business, but like, that's kind of like, she probably was not rooting for you, honestly.
No, I told you
that way, right?
I said, she don't want us to get this house.
No, well, you know what? So when I thought about the deal after the fact, and the fact is you were trying to get it for $35K under list, and it was new to the market. So most of the time, it's actually pretty difficult to get people to say yes to that and have any kind of sense of urgency. On your other property, you had called and confirmed that 170 made sense, and they kind of said,
right.
Yes. So then you kind of jumped on it. But
right.
On this one, you were trying to push a square peg into a round hole. With that being said, keep following up. I don't know that the deal is totally dead. I mean, obviously, I've just signed a contract on a deal today that I looked at in February with you guys, or with Ray, I think was there, and maybe Darshan, you might have been there too. So yeah, that's how long that took. And so that's some follow-up for you.
Which one was that?
I can't say yet because I haven't signed it.
Oh.
Well, I'll tell you later though. I'll tell you next week.
Okay.
On the contract to come over, but I don't think you came. You didn't do the February boot camp, right?
Was it the Linthicum one?
No, February boot camp. February is a really long time ago, like 6 months ago. It was a boot camp for the higher level. You weren't in the higher level then.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's why you're confused. It was a boot camp for the higher level. We went around seeing some properties. And
No, I didn't do that.
Allowed all the students to make offers on them, and I think one tried or did something. No one followed up, and then 6 months later, the deal came back, circled back to me somehow. It was like it was meant to be.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah. I don't know. I think it's dead. She said that she goes, there was another offer that came in that was higher than yours, and the seller just countered at full price. I'm like, okay, good luck with that.
Oh, cool. So she's not serious then. That's good.
Yeah.
She just wants, she's not really serious about selling right now.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of on the fence. So that's like a lack of motivation. But you did everything you could, and that's what you do. You do everything you can, and then you move on. You've had some really amazing results where, like, I feel like you look at one property and get it. That's not so realistic, obviously. I feel like you've been set up to feel like a failure because generally, like, if you're looking at like 3 to 4 properties and getting one, you're doing great.
Yeah.
I know you've had similar results where you've looked at like, you generally look at a few properties and you're usually in the game. Well, that's a nice place to be. It's good that you guys are doing that. It means you're picking very well. You're picking your battles well. But in general, when it really gets go time, you tend to look at like a couple properties a week. And, if you do that every week, then there will be something that comes through. There's always something that comes through. It seems like that's the case for me anymore. When I look at a handful of properties, if I'm just if I'm only out there looking and estimating and, putting offers in, then deals come in. They just come in.
Yeah.
I don't know when or how, but they always do. They're always in and we're always good. And if they're not doing that for you, then the key is like, why not, right? What's going on? But mostly it's always a matter of just looking at more houses. So anyhow, what do you think? Anything you feel like you could have done better? Or do you feel like you just, you did everything you could?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I hadn't really given it much thought. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty hardcore, so I feel like I did everything that I could do. I literally feel like I went at it I even went as far as to send her a video to give the seller.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I did a video and I was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, trust me, I did. I even hand delivered her another contract today with the updates on it. Like, we changed a couple things on the contract, and I knew she was meeting her today. So I had TJ go down there and give her another copy.
People ask me crazy questions.
Yes, me too.
Like, where's my mom? Like, I don't know. I'm not the keeper of your mom. Like, she's around somewhere. Go ask someone and call her or something. I don't send her a text. She can't be too far. The house is only like, a couple bedrooms here. Like, it's got to be somewhere within this perimeter, I would assume, unless she left you. Which means I guess they're mine now.
There you go.
No, that's not how it works. I'm out of here too. I'm calling Child Protective Services. So you know what? The only thing I would give you feedback on, I think you from trying to get the deal done, you did everything you could. Great job. But what I have to, because I'm a lot like you, once I get in it, I smell blood. I kind of like a shark smells blood in the water.
Yeah.
We're just we're on it, right? We're trying to make
Because I started really liking the house. Like, after I had spent time there and I went back again, I really started liking it, and I just started seeing, like, my eyes started opening up more of a vision. Because when I first saw it, I was like, it sucks, it's not that great. And then I started just started really seeing a vision for the house, so I feel like it's really going to be the first house that I'm going to see someone else get over me and watch the process of them get it, renovate it, and list it, and really kind of see, like, they end up getting like what I thought it would sell for. Because everything I've gotten up to this point has all been through private sellers that I've got the deal. Like, I haven't been in competition and someone else has got it. So this is like going to be the first house that someone else is going to get. And it's going to be interesting to see, are they going to do the same thing that I would have did? Are they going to get, what I think it would have got? Are they going to totally fail at this? I mean, it's just going to be interesting.
I mean, I've been watching that kind of stuff for years, because I think some of the best information you can get is seeing what your competitor does with a house that they win from you. And I can give you kind of the summary of what I've seen over the years, because I've equally probably watched other people flip houses that I would have bought as much as I've looked at my own. And it's kind of a crazy dynamic when you watch other people. But the overall story, and Ray, you can tell me if you've seen this to be the case, some of the stuff you've won.
I do the same thing too.
Yeah.
Actually, stuff that I don't get, I track it through and I put a favorite on it and I track it through to resale.
To the resale. And I think that's a great thing to do. What I've seen overall as a pattern is what they're going to do is they're going to rehab it like nowhere near as well as you were going to rehab it. They're going to make the layout weird, and then they're going to ask for more money than you thought. It's usually the case. Or the same, and then not get it, and it's going to sit on the market. Or maybe sometimes I'll see them do a half-ass rehab and then get the money, and I'm like, how'd that happen? Sometimes I'm surprised. I've seen, there's been a few where people in rough neighborhoods probably like, look, that's like a 209 and they got 239. And I'm like, that's crazy. Now, with that,
We just had the same thing happen.
well, that can happen, by the way, and don't ever get too second guessing yourself, because a lot of what we're doing is risk mitigation, right? We're making sure, because when people have deals that have to make 239 in a 209 neighborhood, well, more often than not, they're going to have deals that don't make money. And we don't want to flip 5 houses and make money on 2 and make a teeny bit of money on 1 and lose money on another and break even on 1. That's not a
Right.
good business model. That's a model that sucks really bad.
No.
It's super stressful and you don't really make any money. We want to do like less flips and then make money on every single flip, like every flip all the time. And there's not a lot of flippers out there doing that. Most flippers are kind of missing the boat for sure. They're totally doing the wrong stuff. So every time I watch them, I've never been impressed. I've never watched a deal and been like, wow, I never thought to do that. That would have been awesome.
Okay.
I had
Yeah.
one time that a guy in Glen Burnie beat me out, and he actually taught me something, and I've taught you guys the same thing. He took a split foyer, and the biggest complaint in split foyers are they're 3-1, so they got 3 small bedrooms. And he took and actually made a master suite. Instead of it being 3-1 upstairs, he made it a 2-2 with a master suite, and then put bedrooms in the basement because it's half above grade. And he got a really good number for it, much about $15K higher than I expected. I've used that about 6 or 7 times since I've seen him do it, and I've gotten some really great numbers when I've done it also. So I did learn from him. And the guy used to work for me, by the way. He was a complete bonehead. So for every genius thing he did like that, he made like 10, like lose all his friends' money mistakes. He actually, one of my guys that he worked with, one of my guys that worked for me, my acquisitions guy, and this guy went and partnered up on a waterfront, and he lost $180,000 of my friend's money. And
Oh my
I
God.
used to work with me, and because he took this stupid waterfront on, convinced that oh my God, it'll be worth so much money. It didn't even have a pier. It was like complete crap. Next thing you know, the guy like had to sell his house in Annapolis. He moved to Florida with his mom, and he's working at a golf course for $10 an hour as a security guard and taking people back and forth to the airport. So I was like, that was a good move, but it was kind of funny because they both worked for me, and they were like, well, this is really easy. Like, look how easy Mike makes it. We're just going to go do it ourselves. And they do like one flip and make like 20K. And then they do the stupid waterfront. That's like 500K waterfront. It takes 2 years to do it. And yeah, they end up losing 180K. But the point I was making is that guy, he, for that dumb stuff, he also had the genius of figuring out that, split foyers can be made 2-2s upstairs. I always worried about appraisals. I was always like, if there's not a third bedroom above grade, like how will that hurt appraisals? But, people will usually appraise to whatever you need it to be appraised for. And
Right.
the buyers actually responded to it. So this was a really good lesson in like, don't worry about what the appraisers care about. Worry more about what the buyers care about. What makes them go crazy. And they really love the master suite versus like having a teeny bedroom in an expensive house. Right, you know what I'm talking about with split foyer, right? This house, you like walk in, it's like 6 up, 6 down.
Yeah, I hate
No,
that.
I was listening to everything you were saying because we have one that we're actually getting ready to list in about 2 weeks. We actually did the exact same thing. That was one of the ones that we pulled permits on, and we actually made it to a master suite. So we basically added a full bedroom and a master suite, which is got a bathroom, and we did a little built-in pantry and everything. So
Yeah.
I was kind of secretly championing the idea because, well, it wasn't mine, it was Hannah's idea, but hopefully if it worked down there, it'll work up here.
I mean, look, bottom line is, I mean, think about like when you start getting deep into the psychology, right? The people that buy the house and make the decision is the husband and wife. The people pay the bills or whoever, if it's a single woman, single man, but it's the owner, right? The person paying the mortgage. And,
Yeah.
retreat. My house, my waterfront on the first floor when you walk in is a 1-bedroom, living room, dining room, kitchen. I got a really nice master suite with really cool jacuzzi tub, walks out onto my deck. I got windows on the whole back of the house so you can see out to the water. And it's 936 square feet. However, I would have never expected to lay it out like that. But the guy next door to me has the exact same house. He did it, and he got 430,000. Like 3 years ago, he got 430,000. So it's probably worth more than that now. But the basement, because I'm on a hill, is complete walkout, and I got 2 bedrooms, a bath, and a family room down there. So it's like it's very usable space when the basement's not like buried in and you can walk out. It feels, my house doesn't feel like a 936 square foot house. It feels like a really nice home. And if someone was wanting to live in that house, they would easily put their kids in the basement, put one of their kids or someone else down there if they even had kids. Like my neighbor, I think they got 1 kid, but their kid must be in the basement. So yeah, it all works, right? I think that people want to have that master suite and they want to have that comfort. They don't want to spend 400 or 500K, 300K on a house and they're living in like a coffin.
Yeah.
Kids can live in a coffin though.
Right.
Kids like it. That builds character. Teach them to clean the dishes. I feel like if you make the kids' room too nice, they never leave. Stay forever. Like, you got to tighten it up, man. That's how you get them out of there. Keep them in like an 8x10. I was actually, funny enough, I was looking at the minimum legal size of a room, and I think it's 8x10, by the way, but or 8x9 or something like that. 8x9, I think it is. Because I was thinking like a 6x10 room. That's a prison cell size, actually.
Yeah.
8. And I was thinking, why not? Just put a little teeny bed in there. You'd have a dresser. You'd have everything you need. But you can't legally do that. Apparently.
That was like that bathroom in that one house. I think it was like 3 feet wide. That bathroom upstairs, in the upstairs of that living house. It was like 3 feet wide. You couldn't even open your arms up in there.
We have a lot of weird standards today that they didn't have like 30, 40 years ago. I mean, we like certain sizes and everything. And it was very eye-opening when I went to that tiny house. It was very eye-opening that they put a whole house in a 12x15 room. So
Yeah.
it kind of made me think like you can make layouts work, but you just have to make the small sizes be like the kids' bedrooms, maybe be, the stuff that doesn't matter as much. I think dining rooms and living rooms don't matter quite as much these days.
No.
I think people prefer bigger kitchens, and I don't think they need big family, like super big dining rooms. Now, I'm talking about your type houses because you got a lot of square footage, so they would expect that. But in a house that's 1,000 square feet, I think you can kind of do like maybe 7x8 dining room with a 4-person table, and have like a nice kitchen instead would be way nicer than having like a big formal dining room in a little kitchen. So I just think that's what the market's been telling me. They go crazy. Now, I've had a few scenarios where we've had like nice dining rooms, but we had small kitchens and we didn't change it, and the house sat on the market just like 5-6 years ago. I kind of learned from it. But
Nobody sits at home and eats anymore. It's like the kitchen's just for show. The kitchen's for show and hanging out and having some drinks, and people don't sit down at a table anymore.
They don't do like the whole formal dining room thing as much now. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fine if you've got like 2,000 square feet and you got plenty of room to make all that happen. But ultimately, like in the house I got right now in Parkmont, one of the things, me and Steve been going back and forth, we got this really beautiful formal dining room. And then we have like a huge eat-in kitchen with what is almost like a dining room, honestly. It's as big as a dining room. And I'm like, could we make the freaking formal dining room another bedroom? The only reason we ended up not doing it is we have 5 bedrooms above grade. So I was like, we don't have a 6-bedroom. That's just dumb. But if it would have been the difference of being like 3 to 4, I would have totally inked that like dining room. And then just because the dining room I had in the kitchen was huge. The room's like 15 by like 26 or something. So it's a really big room.
Yeah.
It's plenty big for everything we need. Maybe 15 by 22 or something, more than enough. Anyhow, yeah, so focusing on the master suites, living room, dining room, kitchen, all that stuff's big at all costs. Nikki actually put some, Nikki put some dormers in her house so she could get the master suite and get everything she needed. I'm sorry.
So we changed that bathroom, Mike. We did change the framing for that.
Yeah. Do you like it better now?
I haven't been there yet. He just did it this weekend, and I haven't had a chance to go over.
Okay. I'm sure it would be better though. I mean, it's
for sure.
The way to lay it out. It's weird.
Yeah, we did have to put, we originally had planned on doing, when you did that little drawing, it was like the bathtub, the toilet, and then the vanity. We ended up having to swap that because there wasn't enough clearance. So TJ had that progress inspection, and the inspector came out and said there wasn't enough clearance for the bathtub. So we ended up having to put the bathtub on the other side and the vanity there, and then we just had to shift a window down because the window would have been like where the bathtub was.
Yeah, that sounds easy though. Yeah, that's the way to go. That's awesome. Well, that's going to look nice. You've done really well with what you had because you had a weird layout, so you definitely optimized that layout big time.
Yeah, it looks good.
We'll give credit to Michelle. No, she's got.
I mean, it was really you. I mean, you came in and kind of drew it, and then I just gave her that.
Michelle's crazy, man. She does some crazy stuff to be an architect.
The dormer was like, because originally we had planned on raising the 3 dormers, and just the 1 dormer did the trick, and that was,
She had she took a bathroom and it was very odd, and she kind of put it on an angle when there was a perfect opportunity to just make it square, right? A standard bathroom, and she put it on a weird angle, and I'm like, this is just weird. And she does stuff like that all the time, but I don't hire her for great ideas. I hire her for drawings. She knows how to get the drawings approved and get them done.
Do you know that I found
Okay.
out that Home Depot does drawings? A friend of mine has a house in Annapolis, and she paid them like she said it was a couple $100s to come out and do like a full scale drawing of her house, like all the rooms and stuff.
Have you ever heard that before, Ray? Because I remember somebody saying something about that.
Yeah, she just showed me.
Home Depot's starting to do everything. I've not heard of that, but the Home
I think
Depot's
she
up
said
here
she
now.
paid
They're
like, I think she paid like $200 or something. And they have like a real big house.
it
in
wouldn't
Annapolis.
surprise me.
Yeah, and it looked good. I mean, she showed it to me. I was like, who did this? And she was like, oh, Home Depot. I paid like a couple $100s. I'm like, really?
So they just do drawings of what your existing house is, though, right?
So she was looking to change up some things. So yeah, I think she just had the original drawing done. And then I think she was going to take that maybe to like the kitchen department or I don't know what her plan was after that, but they were trying to build out like a different layout in the upstairs. So yeah, it was just like what her existing was.
Okay. Yeah, because well, you can always white that out if you get something like that. You can just white out on it and draw some new stuff in. I just like being able to erase and mess with it because like I'll sit there and mess with it for a while. And,
yeah.
Until it makes sense. And that's been a big thing is making sure your layout makes sense. You're not missing anything. And certainly like Ray, if any of your layouts you want to run them by me, you're always welcome to do that. Just email it to me.
Well, I have a basement question, and I don't know if you do too, Nikki, because I know you're set up for as a realtor. So two of the properties, actually the two that we're buying, Mike, that are under contract.
Yeah.
The one has a full walkout, steps and everything. Right, the basements are finished in both of them already.
Okay.
They both have. The one's a massive house. It's a 2.5, but the basement's finished with like 9.5-foot ceilings, and there's actually 2 more bedrooms downstairs. I talked to the building inspector because we have to get a CO inspection. Like whenever we resell a house up here, the town actually comes through and they basically inspect it for like all your like generic habitability things like GFIs, and it's not super intrusive. But I called the housing department today and he said in order to count the rooms downstairs, I have to have an egress out of each room. Is there but if right now I have 2 full rooms with closets and actually a full bathroom down there. So right now I'm a 3.5 above grade. If I can figure out some clever way to count these, or is it worth it to put in egress, because then I'd be a 5.3.5, which is a completely different.
So do you only have 3 bedrooms above grade?
Yeah, there's 2.5 above grade, and it's about just under 3,000 square feet.
I mean, it wouldn't be a big deal. It's weird that you only have 3 bedrooms above grade and 3,000 square feet. They must be some crazy big bedrooms.
The master bedroom's like probably 700 square feet, and it's got 2 closets and probably a 200 square foot bathroom.
Big pimping there. That's like huge. So what I would do,
Yeah.
Here's the 2 things I think you can consider. Here's what I normally do, and I don't know if I'll recommend it on this house because it's so nice. But you don't have to say a bedroom's a bedroom. Like if you want it to legally be a bedroom, yes, you need egress. However, you could just be like, hey, put it on the permitted storage. Like it's finished storage space. You're not going to rip it apart. They're not going to make you like rip the sheetrock out. You just don't call it a bedroom. And it's that simple. But when you sell it, people still look at it and say, hey, we could use that as a workout room or a bedroom or anything. So
Yeah.
I would probably consider but if you do want to make it legal, and you might want to consider that since you only have 3 above grade, I probably would consider it because I think people want legal bedrooms. Like for a 3,000 square foot house, in my opinion, like I've been looking at a lot of like higher end houses lately, and I'm like, it kind of boggles my mind. I would not want to buy a 3,000, 4,000 square foot house that has 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms. So it's crazy to me. Like, I don't know why. I mean, I'm getting 4 bedrooms in my 1,000 square foot houses. I can't even fathom how, like, they're just being so weird with the space and not using it better because it could be used better. But to put a window in is not that big a deal. You just literally cut out the foundation, put an egress window in. It's not like, I would say.
Have you done them? Like, what's typically a cost for them?
I mean, I usually pay someone like $500 to $700 to do one, and the windows, $200 like usual.
Okay.
So, I mean, maybe $1,000 each. Pretty reasonable.
Okay.
It's going to make you a 5.3. If you already had 4 or 5 bedrooms above grade, I would tell you just to keep them illegal. right? And they would just see, okay, we got some extra rooms we can use, finished rooms. Maybe they use it for band practice, art studio, weightlifting, whatever. Or, throwing someone they don't like that much down there, and they can do that too. But
Yeah.
but if you throw the window in for 1,000, you could legally get that out as a 5, 3.5. I probably would go ahead and spend the $2,000 on that. I think that would bring you some good return. It's not that expensive.
Okay.
If you find the right person, they literally just cut the block out and they got to put a little brace in it and then just throw a window in and cap it. It's like pretty freaking seamless.
What do they put in, like a bigger window well and stuff? Because I know I was looking into it. It's got to be like 5.7 square feet, or it's technically not, doesn't meet egress. And
Well, would it be below grade, or would the window be below grade or above grade?
half and half, probably 18 inches above grade and 30-ish inches below grade.
So you need a big window well. Yeah, you would need like a nice big window well.
Yeah, and I was looking those kits up, and they looked like they were a little bit more expensive. So that's what I was trying to figure out. Or I'm thinking,
$100 or something. Were you seeing for the kits?
no, the kits that I'm seeing that actually have, because you got to dig down probably 3 feet, 2.5, 3 feet to get the window well on the space you need. You got to kind of obviously dig some dirt out around them. The window wells right now are just little like 18 by 24 inch slider basement windows. So I'd have to probably almost triple the size of that for it to meet egress.
But you do have windows in them?
Yeah.
Dude, I wouldn't worry about. I mean, yeah, I would maybe, if you're really crazy about it, maybe just do one of them. Seriously.
Okay. No, I was just trying to figure out, or if you just put, like you said, the basement is finished with 2 more rooms that could be used, like you said, for a studio, for whatever. People are going to find it. People are going to use them for bedrooms regardless of whether you put the egress in or not.
Yeah.
It's, I guess, from a formality standpoint. So I don't know if an appraiser could reserve the right to not count them when you're looking at comps. That's what I'm trying to figure out more in the grand scheme. I know when people walk it.
Do a lot of your comps have more bedrooms, more to 3 bedrooms?
Usually 4. Most of them are 4, 2.5. So they're not, I mean, it's not like they're like 6-bedroom homes.
Dude, make one of them legal and then leave the other the way it is. And then, if it costs you $1,500 to make one legal, then it's not a big deal.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I think it's worth being able to honestly say this is a 4-bedroom house.
Yeah, and then it gets people downstairs, and then they see the 5th one, and in their minds, that's bedroom number 5.
Well, meanwhile, I'm still listing it as 5 bedrooms. I don't know. I mean, I always list it as every bedroom I have, and every blue moon someone calls me out on it, but it is what it is.
Okay.
I've had people like, you realize that is not an illegal egress window, and that cannot be counted as a bedroom. I'm like, oh, well, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that. And then I just don't do anything. I'm like, okay, well, that was a great statement, but they don't ever tell me like, well, you need to take that off the listing.
Yeah.
I've been in the game 10 years, and one time my agent, and this was my old agent, the first one, she got a fine for doing it. But I think because she went real crazy on the people and started some drama, and then they turned her in. But like, it was like $100 fine, like one time in 10 years. Come on. I'm totally going to list it. I'm going to put 19 bedrooms on there if that's the case. So I always 4 bedrooms. I never, ever, and most of my stuff is not legal egress bedrooms. Most of it's not.
Okay.
It's, but usually it is a 4th bedroom in the basement for me. And I would say you having 3,000 square feet, it would be really nice to say, call your house a 4-bedroom legally. And I would actually call it 5, and then they'll look and see one's legal, one's not. Who cares? Because see, the 4th actually, they could realistically have like a family member they want to put in the basement, a 4th bedroom they need. But most people don't have a 5th bedroom, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and there's already a full bathroom down there too with a shower and everything. So, I mean, it's a legit 3rd full story of living space. So
yeah, that
makes sense. I'll make one of the 2.
Yeah, you make one of the 2, whatever you think the best one is, and it looks the nicest. I would do that. That would be my opinion. It's not that big.
Okay.
It's worth doing. I've done it a couple times recently because I was getting permits and I wanted them to be legit.
Okay. All right. Cool.
What else you guys got going on? Darshan, what's going on, man? If you're in there, I seen your head popping up. I always see, there it is. Like, it's like Tim, the guy, the neighbor. He's always got his forehead in. How you going, man? You been busy with some deals?
Yeah, I heard you're purchasing a short sale that I did.
Oh, is that yours?
Yeah.
How do I get it through like 9 other people, man? I got Darshan's in the group, Akil's in the group, they're calling me, and then some other random dude sells it to me. I'm like, you know, what do I do to get on my own students VIP list? Remember, I forgot you told me you were working on that. You know, funny enough, I've seen that property 3 times, and I went out to see it 8 o'clock this morning, and I was like, man, not that property again. I looked at it on Zillow, and it had it when it wasn't all messed up, so I thought it was a different property. And I go out and look at it, and I'm like, oh, it's that property again.
Gotcha.
And even though it works though, so I'm happy to get it. I like taking on those, like falling over houses are perfect.
Yeah. That'll be a good one.
That's the one we seen in February, by the way. So I can put cats out the bag. And it'll be fine. I'll be able to make money on it because I know how to get through those kind of properties quickly. Like that's the thing. It ain't for everyone, but I know how to get through those kind of quickly and make them right. And it's that nasty mold one, right?
Yep.
So Ray, if you want to come down to Baltimore and help me demo.
I can. I got asthma that's brought on by mold.
Yeah, from February.
Yeah,
From February, I don't blame you, man. Dude,
they say that's when it all starts spawning and getting ready for the spring. So February's probably out of the question.
yeah, it's nasty in there. I'm gonna get somebody to tear that place apart and get it clean. That's the first step. Like
You guys get a lot of radon tests down there as part of your home inspections?
it's kind of hit or miss, man. We do in some counties, not in other counties, but I would say like 1 out of 3 houses I sell, they ask for radon.
Okay.
It rarely ever fails. You might know as a realtor, there's certain counties that tend to have more radon than others.
People do it in Anne Arundel. I mean, definitely in Anne Arundel County. I've heard that it's more prevalent in certain counties. You know, I don't know. Same with me. I never really encourage people to do it. I mean, I'll mark it on the thing, but usually people are usually too cheap to spend the additional money. I mean, if it's a well and septic, the well and septic company usually offers like this healthy home package that includes the well and septic and water quality test and radon. If I use them, they'll do the radon. And actually it's funny because I had a house that I had under contract and someone decided to do a radon in a house that was on a slab. And do you know that it failed? And that's how we found out there was a crack in the foundation.
Oh wow,
It was a flip. It was actually I'm trying to think of who it was. I can't remember the guy's name, but anyway, we got out of the contract and I was like, the fucking house has radon and it's on a goddamn slab. Like, and I was laughing at it. I'm like, why are you doing a radon on a slab? But it was part of their healthy home package. And then the radon came back elevated and it was on a slab. I mean, it was like a lesson that I learned.
Do you not normally have radon on a slab? I mean,
No, because it's usually in the basement.
Oh, okay, yeah, got it. Below grade, okay.
Yeah, because it's the gases that come from like the ground, essentially, like the rock and stuff. It's something that builds up in the rock in the ground. And I mean, you don't usually have it above grade, but because the foundation had like a crack in it, it was coming up through this crack in the house.
That's good fortune then to get it in that case, but that's pretty rare. Ray,
Right?
you get a bunch of them up your way? Do you in New Jersey? Do you see a lot of radon tests?
On our first 50, maybe 2, but on our last 10, probably 8.
Wow. You think maybe
So it's kind of like
a new initiative?
we were joking. Yeah, it's like the new lead test. Like we had lead and I think you guys are still really big on lead because it's older properties. We were huge on lead up here for 18 months, and it's almost kind of like non-existent. And now the big thing that everybody's testing for is radon.
It's interesting. I think it goes in these little waves where, like, you know, think of the dynamic of like the brokers and them coming in and having like radon Jim coming in and being like, hey guys, you probably think radon's not that serious, but I'm going to give you these 8 horror stories about how people lost their whole life savings and their kids ended up having 4 ears. And next thing you know, everybody's like, radon. get it. Like they did that with lead, they've done it with radon, they were doing it with all kind of stuff. The thing now that everyone's hit me with recently is like $1,000 deposits, like $260,000 offers, and they're like, yeah, we'll give you $1,000 deposit. And I call and I tell them like, hey, listen, like the investor won't even really look at offers that are $1,000 deposits, and they'll be like, hey, that's all we really need. You don't really need more than that. That's the best way to do business, they say. And I'm like, I'm telling you what you need to win. If you give $1,000 deposit, they're not going to take your offer seriously. Okay, well, I'll tell the buyer, and then they increase the offer, they do everything else, and they leave the $1,000 deposit on. And I'm thinking, like a lot of people have done that to me over the last 5 months. So it must have been someone that came in and told them, like, oh, protect your client, don't get their big deposits tied up in an argument. Make them just why not just put $1,000 deposits? And I'm like, well, because in a competitive market, I'm not even going to look at your offer when you put $1,000. That's not a serious offer.
Yeah.
And I tell them that, and they refuse to listen. And the only time when people do that, it means they've been indoctrinated. So we're always, it's really interesting to kind of think through how realtors are influencing their behaviors, because often it's really good to know that. So when we're negotiating, you don't know exactly what you're doing. So, well, anyhow, any other questions before we jump off? Anything important you guys want to go over? Well, my lifespan is going to go down since I bought this house from Darshan with tons of mold. But you know what? I've already walked in it 3 times, so I gotta make some money off of it to hopefully pay for my chemo treatment. So that's the only way to kind of make the best out of, make some lemonade out of lemons. Since I've been in the house 3 times, I hopefully got to turn a profit on it now to try to work it out. But anyhow, I appreciate it, Darshan. It's nice to buy a second property from you. Thank you. And I don't even know how the whole thing's going down, but I'm waiting on some paperwork. I think Valerie and them sent me a text or something while I was on this call, so I'll get with them and make sure I get it all signed up. And if you guys need anything, just send me a Marco Polo, and we'll get down to it. So good job. Keep fighting for some deals. I know, Ray, you got some deals lately. I got 2 in the last week and a half, and wasn't even trying to get deals. Actually, just some phone calls came to me in Baltimore and one in Middle River. Which I'm not happy about Middle River that much these days, because that's where I got busted with that guy. So now I got to pull permits, because that's where they got me with that $19,000 fine that I had to go fight in court. So now if I do anything in Baltimore County, I'm on the hot list. They got like a picture of me, and it's like I look like Osama bin Laden on a milk carton at the Baltimore County Permits Department. They legitimately had like a picture of me up sitting in the office, and when I walk in, they're all, "Hello, Mr. Green." They know me by like, and I'm like, no one knows who I am. I'm like incognito. And I walk in to pay something, like they're just like all know who I am. And then they're like, I'm like, yeah, I'm to pay the bill. They're like, oh, Mr. Green. Okay. And I'm like, oh God, now I'm hot, right? Now I got to like go get a fictitious company or something to do this. I don't even know how to go. I hate pulling permits in Baltimore County. I rarely ever pull permits in Baltimore County, but man, they got real pumped on me. So I guess now I'm hot. I'm going to have to start making some adjustments, I guess. It's the way it goes sometimes, but it's not a big deal. I'm not afraid of pulling permits when sometimes you have to, especially if you're doing a lot of work. Cool, everybody. Great week. And if you guys need anything, send me a Marco Polo. Good luck, everyone. Have a good week.